All right, so today's just another extension of what we learned the yesterday or the lesson before. I don't know what day it falls on. Um, but we're going to get more practice on finding the domain and range, especially for those of you that still might have some questions about it. The page number on your notes is page 27. Okay. So for the first part, we're just going back over basic stuff. Domain is going to be anything that has to do with your x values, domain, and range, anything to do with your y values. Think alphabetical order. D comes before R, X comes before Y. Okay. So set of all possible Y values, we're talking about range. Input is domain. Output, your result, range. X values, domain. If we're going from left to right, which axis goes from left to right? Your X axis, so that's domain. Bottom to top, which axis goes up and down? Your Y axis, which is your range. Okay. All real numbers. At times, any real value can be identified for the domain and range of a function. In this situation, we would say that the domain and range is all real numbers. Sometimes written as X is a set of all real numbers, Y is a set of all real numbers. You guys have seen that symbol before. I showed you how to write it with a previous lesson. Okay, so a linear function is graphed on the right. What do the arrows at each end of the line suggest? Arrows at each end of the line suggest that the line continues indefinitely in both directions. Okay. So if we're talking about this arrow here, it's going towards, think about it. This is your positive x values, your negative x values, negative y values, positive y values. So we're going down, positive and negative. So that would give us a positive infinity, negative infinity. Let me zoom in on this actually and erase that. Let's try this again. So for our point, our x and our y value, positive infinity to negative infinity. Now, I've had students say that they have trouble writing that infinity sign. Just do a sideways 8. You can even turn your page sideways and draw an 8. Okay. For this arrow over here, though, I'm going to just put it over here. We're going this way. We're going to the left. And to the left, we have our negative x values. But if we're going up, we have our positive y values. So positive infinity. Okay. So the domain for this would be all real numbers. Once again, you can also write it this way. The range would also be all real numbers. Now, one mistake or one misconception that a lot of students think is that because one of them is all real numbers, they're always going to all be all real numbers. And that's not the case. You have to find the domain and the range separately before you can accept that they're both all real numbers. Sometimes only the domain will be all real numbers, sometimes only the range will be all real numbers. Okay, so here we go. As always, you're going to label both points. This point I'm going to label up here 0, 0. And this point is 8, 8. Okay, so remember, put an X for the domain, Y for the range. They're both closed circles, so I'm going to go ahead and underline all of them. And I was nice enough to go ahead and write that part for you because I know that takes up some time. So minimum to maximum. Smallest x value is 0, largest x value is 8. Smallest y value is 0, largest y value is 8, and you're done. Writing these points makes it so much easier. Okay, now with this one, we have arrows on both sides, but this arrow is going down and to the left. If we're going to the left, that makes our infinity negative. If we're going down, our y values are negative. Here, since we're in the first quadrant, positive, positive. Okay, think of your infinity as a million. Think of your infinity as $1 million or something. All right, so negative a million to positive a million. But because both your endpoints are infinity, this one would be all real numbers. X is a set. It's like a C turned into an E. X is a set of all real numbers. Range goes from negative infinity, closed circle. All infinities are going to be closed circles. We have infinity on both sides, so Y is a set of all real numbers. Okay, you can write out the words all real numbers as well, up to you. Let me change color. This point over here, negative 4, 1. This point up here, 3, 7. Okay. X and Y. Both of them are closed circles. So I'm just going to avoid making mistakes and go ahead and underline them. Smallest x value, negative 4. Largest x, 3. Smallest y, 1. Largest y, 7. Done. Next one. Here you have an arrow, but notice it's straight. It's straight at where? At a 1. So even though it's going towards negative infinity, the y value stays at the number 1. Okay, here, same thing. X value, but your y value doesn't go past 7. So positive infinity, 7. But because they're both arrows, close circles. So my smallest x value, negative infinity, positive infinity for my highest. That means x is going to be the set of all real numbers. When you have infinity on both sides, when you fill in infinity on both sides, it's all real numbers. But my smallest y value is 1. My largest y value is 7. Once again, just because the domain is all real numbers doesn't mean that the range will also be all real numbers. Got it? Flip it over to the back. And we continue practicing. This time we're adding a question. With this one, a little bit different because there's not 2 endpoints. We have 1, 2, 3. So we want to label all 3 of them. I'm going to start by labeling this one. Negative 2, 6. This one is 410. And the one at the very end, 16, 2. Okay. X and that's ugly. All 3 points are closed circles, so I don't have to worry about open circles here. Now, out of all 3 numbers, which one's the smallest x value? Negative 2. The highest between 4 and 16 would be 16. With the y, the smallest number is 2. The highest is 10. Function. With a graph, what do? We test vertical line test. Is it a function? No, because it repeats. It crosses the vertical line twice. Next one. This point over here is negative 4, 3. And the other point is 5, -2. And this one has open and closed, so I'm not going to underline yet until I know what number I'm using. So for the smallest x value is a -4. -4 is at the closed circle, highest 5. 5 is at an open circle, so leave it alone. For the y, -2 is the lowest number. -2 is at the open circle. 3 is at the closed circle. But it doesn't matter where I draw a vertical line. It's only going to touch once. So yes, this one is a function. Here we got arrows on both ends. -infinity, -infinity because it's going down. This one's going up. +infinity, +infinity. Arrows all around, so go ahead and underline. We can go ahead and assume, yes, this is going to be a function. This one, x is a set of all real numbers. -infinity to +infinity. So y is a set of all real numbers. Once again, just because the domain is all real numbers doesn't mean that the y automatically will be all real numbers. Number 8. Whew. This one has 2 arrows, but you also have that peak. So I'm going to label the peak. If we're going down and to the left, -infinity, -infinity, going to the left, that's your negative numbers. Going down, your negative numbers, right? This is 0, -2. And this one goes to +infinity, but it's still going down. Down means negative, so -infinity. All closed circles. This peak here, there is no physical gap. Unless you physically see an open circle, it is considered to be closed. All right, so for our x values, we go from -infinity to +infinity. So x is a set of all real numbers. Okay, for y, we either have -infinity or 2. Well, -infinity is lower than -2. Okay, now whenever this is a function, whenever you only have one infinity filled in, your answer is going to be the side that keeps the number. Okay, when there's 2 infinities, it turns into all real numbers. When there's only one infinity, you keep only the side that has the number on it. You never actually keep the infinities in your final answer, but they are good placeholders. They are a good way to recognize why we put those there. Okay. Domain and range. This is just a straight horizontal line. So yes, that one is going to be a function. It's going towards -infinity, but notice the y value is staying steady at the -3. This side's going towards +infinity, and it's still at the -3. So for the domain, we're going from -infinity to +infinity, meaning x is all real numbers. Okay. For the y, there's only one option, -3 to -3. So when you have the same number on both sides, it's just equal. Equal to -3. Number 10. 1, 2, 3. You technically have 3 peaks. So -2, 0, 5, 6 for that closed circle. The open circle is at 5, -6. Because we have a mix of open and closed circles, I'm not going to go ahead and do any underlining yet. The smallest x value is -2. -2 is here at the V. That's a closed circle. And 5. Whenever you're deciding between a closed and an open circle, because you have a 5 at a closed, you have a 5 at an open, closed wins. Okay. Closed beats open. Now the next one, -6 is the smallest. That's an open circle, so I'll leave that alone. +6 is at a closed circle. This one is not a function because it does not pass the vertical line test. If I draw the vertical line, it crosses 2 times. Number 11. Drew believes that the domain of the function is -6 less than equal to x less than equal to 6, while Yasmin believes it's all real numbers. Who do you agree with? Okay, well, we're talking about the what's very important that we're talking about the domain. Okay, and it has 3 peaks, or it has 2 endpoints with a peak. So first, we're going to label this -infinity. This point right here, 0, 8. This is going towards +infinity, but still -infinity. Okay, so my smallest x value, -infinity, closed circle. My highest, +infinity, meaning x is all real numbers. I did not mean to write my R like that. You do have to write it this way. So yes, who do we agree with? We agree with Yasmin. Number 12. Sketch a function that meets the following. You want the domain to be all real numbers. So I know I'm going to have arrows on both sides, right? And the range to be greater than or equal to -2. So you want it to stop at a -2. So what can we do? Arrows both ways from the -2. You won't actually have to draw one on your own on the STAR test, and it's not in your assignment. So that one's just kind of a gimme. All right, so just keep practicing, and if you continue to have some questions, just ask a friend. If your friend can't help you, then let me know.